Professor Robert Eisenman, a world-renowned biblical scholar and the leading figure in the translation and publication of the Dead Sea Scrolls, has also been interested in this mystery for many years and had done ground scans of the church in Rennes-le-Château in 2003.
That looks really interesting because that's clearly a mummified corpse. But now you've got to ask other questions. You know, you have to carbon date that corpse. It isn't enough to take a strand of hair from that corpse and see if it's male or female and then make all sorts of suppositions on that basis. You have to go in there and carbon test it, see when it could have come from. It does look very, very mummified. That doesn't mean someone couldn't have picked up a mummified corpse, wrapped it in a Templar-like shroud, and put it there. My question is, okay, it's too perfect. Why is the shroud sitting there with the cross so you can see? Why in a wet climate like southern France hasn't that whole thing rotted away?
What do you make of that chest and the items in it?
Well, honestly, the chest worries me quite a bit. It seems a little too packed. A perfume vial, a bowl, this kind of thing. Why would someone put these things in there? All of the coins, etc., etc., etc. Now, I have no doubt that these things will turn out to be authentic in terms of what they are. But how did they get there? You know, what you have to do is you've got to go very carefully. You have to go step by step before you make any claims, because the whole world is waiting to laugh you out of the room. And you have to go really careful. I've been involved in things that were ultimately turned out to be frauds and forgeries and things like that. And these things can be very clever and very, very crafty. So care, doubt, Descartesian, systematic doubt is where you want to be. And I think the first place to start is get a permit for archaeological excavation of the cave tomb in some way and see if this has any authenticity or it's not something that's just been set up, like some of them have said, to lead you along in a preconceived trip.
Are we on slightly more solid ground to think of Mary coming rather than Jesus?
Mary's only mentioned 2 or 3 times in the scripture as we know it. What is the historical kernel here? We don't even know that, and so I can't speak whether they came to France. I do know this. Royal personages came to southern France. We have that in Josephus. Herodias, for instance, and her husband were exiled to southern France. In addition, there's a whole tradition and historical evidence about a Jewish kingdom in northern Spain and southern France in the late Middle Ages. So is there written evidence? Did something somehow get to southern France? That would be my main interest. What are the links of the Templar presence in southern France and northern Spain, etc., with what happened earlier in Palestine? But as far as physical kings, queens, descendants, I'll leave that to you and the Bloodline people.